Welcome back to Backpacker Diaries. My name's Amos, and today we have a special guest with us. You may have heard me mention the Eight Wonders Trail in a few of my videos. Just want to give you some more details with the help of my friend here. I'd like to introduce my special guest, Gary Housholder, with the Eight Wonders Trail. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Amos. It's great to be here. What a pleasure it is to be out in this beautiful forest.
Absolutely. And I've really been enjoying the Eight Wonders Trail, the pieces that I've seen so far. But before we get on to the Eight Wonders Trail, can you tell me how you got started with your backpacking career or your adventuring career?
Well, I was always into backpacking for years, so I decided to become a bellman at the Grand Canyon on the South Rim. Boy, we'd really do some scary animal trails back then that from Harvey Butchert's books and George Streck's books. I have about 400 miles under the canyon under my belt. It was during this time when I was working at the Grand Canyon where I first heard of the concept of the Great Western Trail.
Nice. Now, when were you working at the Grand Canyon?
This was during the late 80s into the early 90s.
Very cool. So, Gary, what inspired the Eight Wonders Trail concept for you?
We had a special family history road trip back in 2018, and our family was already 400 miles into the Arizona Trail, and we stopped off at the Grand Tetons. And at Jackson Hole in the Grand Tetons, we know they have a gondola ride all the way to the top, and they have a Waffle House at the top. Well, it was up there at the top of the Grand Tetons where I realized that our family could hike all the way from Arizona to Canada. And I remember back in the late 80s in the Arizona Highways magazines, it was discussed about this Great Western Trail concept. And naturally, since it had 8 national parks, I was on fire. I was like, this can be done.
I love the concept, and I look forward to seeing more of it. So tell me more about the Eight Wonders Trail concept that you've created.
So the Eight Wonders Trail helps to connect the Arizona Trail, the Arizona National Scenic Trail, with the Continental Divide National Scenic Trail. Both of these trails are fantastic. They have top-rate organizations such as the Arizona Trail Association, as well as the Continental Divide has a trail association as well. And they're well-run, well-maintained trails. And the Eight Wonders Trail bridges the two together with a 1,000-mile bridge from State Line Campground at the north of Arizona all the way to Heart Lake inside Yellowstone National Park.
Nice. Sounds like fun.
Oh, great fun.
About how many of the Eight Wonders Trail miles have you seen so far?
We've hiked, our family has hiked 465 miles so far of the roughly 800 miles of the Arizona National Scenic Trail. And I've been busy vetting the last 2 years the GPX files and the KML file of Utah the past 2 years from State Line Campground all the way up into the Dixie Forest where we are today.
Do you have a count for the Utah miles you've done so far?
The account for the Utah miles will be roughly at least a couple hundred now.
Nice. Does that include the couple miles that we did together a couple days ago?
That little snippet over by Barker Reservoir was fantastic. It was my first time visiting Barker Reservoir. Unbelievable. So, Amos, I've heard that you also have hiked a considerable amount of the Eight Wonders Trail. I'm excited to learn how much of it have you done.
Safe to say I've definitely enjoyed the Eight Wonders Trail that I've seen so far. From here in Dixie National Forest, I have so far covered most of the miles between here and the Idaho border. So, Gary, what does the Eight Wonders Trail have that the other long trails don't?
Well, the Eight Wonders Trail is composed of 8 national parks, from Saguaro National Park to the south, to the Grand Canyon, to Bryce Canyon, as you go further north, to Capitol Reef National Park. Then you have the majestic Grand Tetons, as well as Yellowstone National Park. Then, as you continue up to Canada on the Continental Divide Trail, you pass into Glacier National Park, capped off with Waterton National Park at the Canadian border. 8 national parks in 2,800 miles.
Fantastic. Now, did I see something about like an extension, like up kind of by the Great Divide Trail for like a Canadian extension as well?
Yes, there is. There is the 12 Wonders XL extension, which leads into Canada, and that has a total of 700 more miles, a total of 3,500 miles, and 12 national parks.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So do you have a favorite portion of the Eight Wonders Trail of what you've seen so far?
Well, naturally, as a former bellman at the Grand Canyon, I'm a little biased to the Grand Canyon National Park. But anywhere along the Eight Wonders Trail is just that. There's wonders everywhere, including this creek right behind us.
Mm-hmm. I know from experience it definitely goes through some lesser traveled parts of Utah, and I know that's going to be the same for the other states as well.
Yeah, in southern Utah, I most especially love Powell Point. Mm-hmm. As the hikers run up to Powell Point, they will experience this unbelievable scenic viewpoint of all of southern Utah. 1,000 feet below them, all the way ranging from Bryce Canyon to Navajo Mountain on the Utah-Arizona border to the Henrys off on the Hayduke Trail. There's incredible views from Powell Point.
Wow, that sounds amazing. It's definitely on my to-do list. So is there anything else you'd like to say about the Eight Wonders Trail before we wrap up our little discussion here?
Well, I originally came up with this concept, and I'm trying to revive the concept that was once thought of back in the late 1980s. And that's when everyone sat down and was discussing this Mexico to Canada Great Western Trail adventure. And for hikers like a lot of single track. The trail right now is comprised of about 400 miles of single track, or possibly a little bit more, and about 600 miles of double track, which are connecting the single track together.
Are you talking in terms of just the Utah portion or the
1,000-mile bridge?
Oh,
so
right.
The 1,000-mile bridge, at least 400 of those miles are currently single track. Mm-hmm. Now, when the Arizona National Scenic Trail was finished, for example, about 55% of that trail was composed of double track, and only 45% of that trail was single track. But as the trail grew in popularity, the Arizona Trail Association was formed to convert all of that to single track someday. And they've done a great job in the last 10 years. Their ratio's about 75% to 25% right now, which is incredible for hikers to enjoy, as well as mountain bikers and equestrians.
Absolutely. Well, where should people go if they want to find out more about the Eight Wonders Trail?
The Eight Wonders Trail is found at a Facebook group called the Eight Wonders Trail. And what's great about the group is it's all archived. So you can search a key word, for example, cowpuncher, or you can search for the Dixie National Forest, or you can search for the Grand Canyon, and specific segments of the trail will be discussed in those posts. So it's really become a marvelous source of information.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today and tell us more about the Eight Wonders Trail.
Thank you, Amos. It's great to be here with you. Mm-hmm. I love this creek beside us that we're going to see next.
So instead of a fireside chat, it's more of a creekside chat, right?
Yes, definitely.
That's all for now. See you next time.